Hi there, my name's Sean, and today I want to talk about Rocko's Modern Life, Spunky's Dangerous Day. This is not a good game. I don't think it was particularly liked when it came out, and I don't think time has been especially kind to it either. But somehow, in January 2026, more than 30 years later, it's back. Quietly re-released, unrequested, and barely announced. And I could not be more excited, because this thing is a fossil, a full-on Blockbuster shelf artifact. The kind of licensed game you rented once, struggled with all weekend, and then quietly never brought up again. Today, I want to look at why this game exists, how it actually works, and therefore why revisiting it now says more about Rocko's Modern Life than you'd expect from a 16-part escort mission built out of guesswork.
Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it?
The immediate excuse here is the Nickelodeon Splat Pack, a small re-release bundle that dropped on January 30th, 2026. It includes a handful of SNES-era Nickelodeon games, including Nickelodeon Guts, All Real Monsters, and Rocko's Modern Life, Spunky's Dangerous Day. This isn't sponsored or anything. The collection itself really isn't the point. What matters is that it gives me a clean excuse to finally sit down with this game in full, especially while we're already deep into revisiting Rocko's earliest Season 1 episodes. And that overlap turns out to matter a lot more than you would think. Booting up the collection, the first thing you see is a short cinematic of Rocko, Spunky, Ickis, Crumb, Oblina, and a Guts contestant running up the crag. It's recycled sprites over a reused background, kinda cheap, a little awkward, but weirdly charming. That tone carries straight into the menu. But the custom title screen already misspells Spunky's name. Right away, the game's already telling you what kind of experience this is going to be.
3, 4, 5, 6. Jump all the way over. Oh my god, I still missed.
At its core, Spunky's Dangerous Day is not a platformer. It's a 16-part escort mission. You play as Rocko, and Rocko cannot fail. He does not meaningfully take any damage, he doesn't die in any way. Spunky, however, does. Every system in the game exists to pull your attention away from Rocko and towards Spunky's position, pathing, and health bar. Even brief lapses in attention are punished. Lose sight of him for even a moment, and the level collapses. What makes this especially hostile is that failure rarely comes from execution, but more so from information denial. Levels begin with Spunky already in motion, wandering into hazards before you've even had a chance to read the space. The only reliable way to play is to pause the instant the level loads, scan the environment, and plan several steps ahead. And that behavior is not just suggested, it's almost required literacy. Without it, the game feels cruel and arbitrary. With it, the design reveals itself as rigid, brittle, and deeply dependent on foreknowledge rather than reflex or experimentation.
Where's the hydrant at? Is it up here?
Spunky's Dangerous Day was developed before Rocko's Modern Life had fully taken shape as a television series. The team did not have finished episodes, finalized animation, or even access to the show's theme song. As a result, the game operates as an educated guess. Visuals were built from early sketches, environments were improvised, and tone and structure were inferred rather than adapted. That parallel development explains much of the game's friction. It isn't just mechanically unforgiving, it's conceptually unfinished. Once gameplay starts, the problem asserts itself immediately. There is almost no grace period to adjust. Spunky begins wandering right away. You're given almost no time to understand the space unless you pause the instant the level loads. By the third stage, the levels open into maze-like layouts where a single lapse can send Spunky down a path you didn't intend. Rocko can absorb hits with minimal consequence, but Spunky cannot. Earl the Junkyard dog damaging Spunky while Rocko scrambles nearby establishes the real rule set. Rocko exists to work, and Spunky is the only thing that really matters. This is also where playing the game today starts to meaningfully differ from how it felt in the 90s. If you're playing this through the Nickelodeon Splat Pack re-release, there's one modern safety net that changes everything. It adds a rewind feature that lets you roll things back after you mess up. It's limited, but it completely changes how the game feels. Instead of treating every mistake like a hard stop, it gives you room to breathe. You can try things out, fix small mistakes, and recover without immediately having to start the entire level over. Basically, Rewind gives the game a level of forgiveness it never really had back in the day. Without it, the game expects you to already know what's coming. With it, you can actually react, make mistakes, and keep going instead of getting flattened every time something goes wrong.
Catch, Spunky. Oh no. Where you going?
The beach world pulls directly from Season 1 logic. Spunky runs toward danger, chased by crabs and threatened by pelicans. The framing closely mirrors the episode, minus the broader comedic context.
Hey, you! I paid good money for that dogfish.
And this is where the game really teaches you what it's going to be like to play. You're constantly running back and forth, climbing up and down awkward platforms, and dealing with the same few obstacles over and over again. Even something as simple as crossing water turns into a hassle because now you're responsible for getting Spunky across safely on an inflatable tube, or whatever type of vehicle is being used for that particular level. Earl the Junkyard dog appears here aggressively and frequently, immediately becoming a more present antagonist than any other enemy in the game. His dominance starts early and never really stops.
Garbage day, Spunky. Spunky?
The second world takes the pilot's junkyard and builds an entire section around Spunky getting obsessed with the discarded mop, pulling directly from the Clean Lovin' plot where he falls in love with it. It's a familiar motivation if you know the show, but it doesn't really matter. You're surrounded by garbage trucks, acid pits, compactors, and clouds of toxic gas, so the intent is obvious, even if the story beat's a little flimsy. This is where moving around the level becomes the real enemy. Everything is tighter, hazards are packed close together, and Spunky becomes much harder to keep track of. This is the point where the game stops feeling a little clumsy and starts feeling genuinely overwhelming.
Listen, ice cream truck, Spunky. Spunky? Where you going?
The third world kind of reframes Rocko as straight up negligent. Spunky wanders off for ice cream while Rocko lounges in the backyard, Heifer sleeps, and responsibility is completely absent across the board.
Bev! Oh, I can't believe it! Do you know what that weirdo next door is up to?
In this level, we get to visit the Big Head house where things really start piling on. Ed Big Head's yelling actually pushes you around, steam pipes under the house block your path unless you shut them off, and the space is filled with bats, squirrels, and narrow walkways that give you almost no room to breathe. The end result is a maze that absolutely punishes you for slowing down. You're trying to keep Spunky on track while flipping switches and clearing hazards in spaces that are somewhat charming but still demanding of your full attention.
Wash day, Spunky. Spunky? Spunky? What in the blazes?
final world is Unbalanced Load, pulled directly from the iconic Laundry Day episode, and it's where the game most clearly echoes the tone of the series itself.
Laundry day is a very dangerous day.
In the show, the laundromat is where a normal chore spirals out of control, turning into a miserable, never-ending hassle for Rocko thanks to the gripes.
Oh no, the gripes. I've heard about them. They steal your socks and hurt your clothes.
The game pulls from that same idea, turning laundry into constant pressure instead of a one-off gag. The gripes populate the Laundryland underworld, attacking Rocko and Spunky with clothespins and bombs, while the bucking washing machine and hostile change dispenser also appear as enemies. The main obstacle here, though, is definitely the dryers. If you don't shut them off in time, Spunky will happily wander inside and his health bar melts away almost immediately. There's very little room for error, and once you mess up, it usually happens pretty fast. Visually, this is one of the better looking parts of the game, but it's also where the escort mechanics feel the most unforgiving, pushing the whole idea to its breaking point. After navigating the final stretch of Unbalanced Load, the game ends quietly. Rocko hugs Spunky in a crude pixel art illustration, hearts burst around them, and Heifer smiles and waves from the background.
I love you, Spunky.
Seeing the end of this game is admittedly a little bit of a strange experience. I had never made it past Sand in Your Navel as a kid, let alone made it to the final screen. It's not triumphant, it's relieving. The feeling isn't mastery, it's completion. Beating this game feels more like finishing a chore than it does conquering a challenge. But hey, maybe that's just me. Spunky's Dangerous Day remains the only game centered entirely on Rocko's modern life. It wasn't built as a celebration of a finished show, but as an experiment created in parallel, using sketches and assumptions. Some of its DNA lingers. Elements of Spunky's interaction and movement later appear in Rocko's moveset in Nickelodeon's All-Star Brawl, but the game itself functions best as a historical artifact, a snapshot of early licensed game development, preserved rather than redeemed. And that's the real value of revisiting Spunky's Dangerous Day in 2026. Not as a recommendation, not as a hidden gem, but as a time capsule. A snapshot of a moment when Nickelodeon was still learning how to translate its shows into games. When Rocko himself wasn't fully defined yet. And when licensed titles were built on vibes, sketches, and assumptions instead of finished worlds. Played today with modern tools and modern patience, the game finally tells you what it always was. An awkward, punishing escort mission built in parallel with a show that hadn't found its footing yet. And that's where the irony lands. Because that relentless, unremarkable punishment is exactly what Rocko's modern life has always promised. Rocko almost never wins. He endures. He survives the day. And when it's over, he's usually worse off than when he started. The game ends the same way. You don't feel triumphant, you feel tired. Rocko did his job, Spunky is safe, but nothing was gained, nothing was learned, and nothing about tomorrow will feel any different. Like most episodes of the show, it doesn't end with victory, it ends with acceptance. Just another day in Rocko's modern life.
Cut! Alright, that's it, boys. We don't need you for the end.
Uh-oh, okay. So we're done?
Yeah, if we need you next week, we'll call you. Okay, Charlie, kill the light!
So what did you think? Did you ever play Spunky's Dangerous Day back in the day? Or is this your first time even hearing about it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear how your experience with this game lines up with mine. And if you enjoyed this video, consider giving it a like. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to check out more 90s animation history with me, I'm covering episodes of Rocko's Modern Life regularly, so feel free to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.